Good morning once again and welcome back to New Day here on TV3. It's time for us to go into our health club, and this morning throughout the segments it's all been leading to this. We've been discussing cholera. Now, with the rains continuing and the drains and gutters completely choked with filth, issues of cholera are arising once again. So right now, here with us in the studio, shortly coming up, we have Dr. Amu Mensah of the Kaneshi Polyclinic, who educates us more about cholera.
Me and you, we are all responsible for keeping cholera away from our environment. You know, it is a disease of filth. So it is a shared responsibility. I always say this. If you went to buy food and you are going to eat, you need to wash your hands and wash your hands properly with running soap and water, so that with any bacteria on your hands, you can get rid of it before you put your hands into your mouth. The water we drink, if you are not sure of the source of the water, it's always very important to boil the water before you drink that water. The food we eat, it's better to put it on a stove or microwave it or on a coal pot. Make sure it's hot before you eat this food. So these are a few ways that we basic things we try to use to combat the spread of the disease. So let's say somebody has had cholera, he's on a bed sheet, you can use a good detergent, properly wash, and it should be dried in the sun. This year we have been very fortunate. We've not seen the kind of cases that we saw last year. This year we've only had, for this clinic in particular, we've only had 2 cases since January. Let me be quick to add this. Whenever there is an outbreak like we saw last year, there is generally, we develop, the population, the community develops some kind of immunity. So for the next, let's say this year, next year, the population will be having a fair amount of immunity based on what we got, based on what happened last year. So the immunity will be in the system, and that checks the spread of the cholera. But that is not to say that we can't have it again, because the rains are falling, the sanitation is not the best, and so, like I said, it's a shared responsibility. We all need to support ourselves in trying to get rid of this cholera.
All right, so that was Dr. Amu Mensah there from the Kaneshi Polyclinic giving his thoughts on how we can help to prevent a further outbreak of cholera. Now, considering last year we had the largest cholera epidemic we've had within our shores, if it was to happen again, who are we going to hold responsible?
Individuals are supposed to clean their communities, especially the gutters, so that it will be clean. To don't bring any disease, cholera, especially the mosquitoes. They come out from the gutters, pouring dirty water, waste materials. All these things comes together and bring the cholera to the individual or the human being. So you should blame the individuals.
They are my cholera. I'm paying me to say if and the cholera ban. Now we go how we need. Be say ni fie be ko ni fie once na guna ne nkyɛnse ne no maso kra no temi sa won huru ni wo be ko ne nkyɛn na gata bi wo be ko ba bi be se gata pa mu notie gogome na de sane de aduane esi nkyɛn na woton na manfo todi wonam kuruma be se nam bi ya twitwa ana fish bi ya kye ni ya bi so bebere especially Kaneshi kwan no so market no ni ya bi so bebere na manfo towe ni nyina so tem de yare ba na ya ebetima bi mu ye first at the like will be a friend cantas for we been say work class no more than I'm no more say what is would the chi what to ball agu why your toilet so fine when yes I man be chew na no kuruma no hu tankas ne bi we be for gatamu no na ye fin na nipa ne gina ho na wo ton na tankas ne na friend no wada no say friend AMB no na ho na wo hwe na de sani gina ho 20 star asu de be ma sankrofo na from tankas na say mo da no mo AMB na o mo hwe nipa abra bom emotionally passes cinema everybody, not a single person. Everybody is to blame because everybody is doing the debt.
if you pass everywhere, everybody is throwing papers, rubbers everywhere in the gutter. So you have to bring everybody. No one to bring.
Hey, I'm for. One more fault, no, I'm a number. Well, because what I'm winning, I put one more, and I shall see a CSC or Mayim. Inti Cholera beba and agent at one so. Nippani been through ye fear the call out. We should be back, cause she to cry teaching on a deba hospital. And yet, inti a fino, Cholera no so be free and yenny paduano. Or money by ye free and so young. Or money sees your chrome. Nasa young so young tea home. Ye near Hunia, ten be a Cholera and yadia a beco. Inti, I was seeing so ye neat young. Ye timisi ye fie ye masku kom bibia na hotel.
All right, so we've got varying views there, but everybody does agree that it is everybody's responsibility in order to keep our surroundings clean. Now, with hand washing campaigns coming forward, public education as well as civil education, the number of reported cases of cholera has indeed dropped over the last year, but we are still indeed at risk.
Me and you, we are all responsible for keeping cholera away from our environment. You know, it is a disease of filth. So it is a shared responsibility. I always say this. If you went to buy food and you are going to eat, you need to wash your hands and wash your hands properly with running soap and water so that with any bacteria on your hands, you can get rid of it. I've gone to somebody's feces and the fly flew and then came to land on that food. And then I went to buy that food. The food wasn't warm or wasn't hot and I ate that food. Then I'm at risk of getting cholera. If I went to drink water, sometimes some of our so-called pure water have some very doubtful sources. If you take in any water or some contaminated water, maybe it's a borehole that you have dug near a pit latrine or anywhere that the water you are drinking has been contaminated by somebody's feces. You drink that water, you don't boil it, you can get cholera. If you were to shake or come into contact with anybody with cholera, maybe the person has gone to the toilet, the person didn't wash his hands after going to the toilet, you also shook the person, you also didn't wash your hands, you put it in your mouth, you are also at risk of getting cholera. With cholera, somebody can lose between 4 to 10 liters within a very short period of time of fluid. So you are losing all this fluid, and once you lose all this fluid, it's not only the fluid you are losing, you're also losing electrolytes. And they come out profusely, and it can lead to dehydration of the patient. The patient can go into shock, something called hypovolemic shock. The organs of our body are all being perfused with blood. Your kidneys, your liver, your kidneys, your brain, and your skin. These are all organs that is receiving constant blood supply. And blood is also made up of water. And so if you are losing all this fluid, you could get shock. Medically, when we have inadequate perfusion of these organs, we call them shock. So your liver or your kidneys can shut down, your liver will not get enough blood flow, your brain will not get enough blood flow. And coupled with that, you're also losing electrolytes. You're losing potassium, you're losing bicarbonate, you're losing chlorine, ions, all through the vomiting and the effortless diarrhea that you are having. So with all these loss of electrolytes, you are at risk of getting electrolyte imbalance that also can lead to death as well as losing the fluid. The human body is made up of 2/3 of fluid, of water. So losing all these fluid and electrolytes, then you are going into shock. And that is what normally kills people when they have cholera and die. The holding area is to ensure that you stabilize the patient before the patient, because you want to rehydrate the patient as quickly as possible and to replace water the patient is losing. So the first 30 minutes to 1 hour is very crucial, and that's why we have the holding areas in our facilities to ensure that the patient is adequately rehydrated within that first 30 minutes to 1 hour, or that the patient could.
Okay, so that was further advice from Dr. Amu Mensah of the Kaneshi Polyclinic. And generally what you need to do is keep on washing your hands, ensure that your food is very hot, and keep your environment as clean as possible to avoid cholera.